Sister wants to kick me out of my own house because I'm pregnant and she doesn't want to live with a baby. Alright, so let me give some background here. I'm 26, and a few years back I inherited my grandma's house. But it's not just any house. This is the place where I grew up with my 3 younger siblings. It's got this whole farmhouse feel to it, with a lot of space, and my grandma left it to me with a specific purpose in mind. See, she didn't just leave it to me for myself. She left it to me because I'm the oldest, and she trusted me to keep the family together if anything ever happened to her. And she was right, because when she passed, my siblings needed someone. At the time, they were all underage. My sister was 20, my brother was 16, and the youngest was just 13. None of us were prepared to lose Grandma, but she was the only real parent figure we had, so her death hit us hard. I'll admit, I wasn't exactly ready to jump into this role. I mean, I had my own life and plans. But when it came down to it, they needed me, and that's what mattered. After she passed, I moved back in, took legal guardianship of my siblings, and tried to do what I thought Grandma would want. She raised us here, and I know she left this house to keep us all grounded, a place where we'd always feel safe. It's not just bricks and wood. It's the home we all grew up in, and there's history in every room, every creak in the floorboards, and even in the old barn out back. This place was her legacy, and keeping it meant a lot to me. It felt like, in a way, I was keeping her with us. Now, this isn't some fancy place, not by a long shot. It's an old farmhouse, so it's got all the quirks that come with that. The plumbing's outdated, the paint's chipped, and the floors creak like nobody's business. But I grew up with all that, and it just feels like part of the house's personality now. And it's got this barn out back too, which I guess is kind of a big part of the story here. So, about that barn. Back when Grandma was around, she decided to convert it into a sort of guest house. The idea was that family members or friends could stay there when they visited. But over time, it sort of just turned into a storage space for whatever random stuff nobody wanted to deal with. There's a bed, a tiny kitchenette, and a bathroom in there, but they're buried under boxes, furniture, and a bunch of old junk. To be honest, I'm not even sure if any of it works anymore, and I'm definitely not in a position to renovate it right now. Money's tight as it is, just keeping up with regular bills and the kids' expenses. I won't lie, moving back into this house and suddenly being in charge of 3 younger siblings wasn't easy. At first, it was pretty overwhelming. I mean, I went from worrying about myself and my own life plans to managing a household with teenagers and trying to be a stable presence for them. There were moments where I didn't know if I was doing the right thing or if I was enough. But at the end of the day, it felt like the right thing to do, and I know my grandma trusted me to handle it. Honestly, I didn't want this house to go to anyone else. Each sibling's different too, which makes things interesting. Let's say my 20-year-old sister is in college now, and she's definitely got her own opinions on how things should run around here. My brother, who's 16, is a typical teenage boy, glued to his phone or Xbox whenever he's not at school. And my youngest sibling, the 13-year-old, is still figuring life out. You know, it's a balancing act, trying to be a responsible guardian and still feel like an older sibling instead of a parent. But we're managing, even if it's not perfect. It's funny because when I was younger, I never really saw myself in this role. But when Grandma left, something kind of clicked. I remember her saying once that family is who you take care of, and that really stuck with me. So here I am, taking care of the people who mean the most to me in the house that means the most to all of us. Life here is busy, but simple. The kids go to school, I handle the housework to make ends meet, and every day is just about keeping things steady. There are days where I miss having my own space or the freedom to do whatever I want, but I don't regret any of it. Living here in this house feels right. It feels like where I'm supposed to be, even if it's not always easy. And I feel like I'm honoring my grandma's memory by keeping it going. But yeah, that barn is kind of a problem. It's not the guest house it once was. It's more like a glorified junkyard now. I mean, it's been years since anyone stayed there. Someone broke into it a while back, and since then, the door hasn't even had a lock on it. I keep meaning to fix that, but it's just one more thing on a never-ending to-do list. And honestly, it's low priority. The place is practically a museum of random stuff at this point. If you try to go in there, you'd probably have to wade through piles of old boxes, furniture, and who knows what else just to get to the bed. Even if I wanted to fix it up, it'd cost money I just don't have. Everything I earn pretty much goes into keeping the house running and making sure my siblings have what they need. The idea of throwing money at a barn renovation just isn't realistic. Plus, I don't have the time or energy to tackle a project that big right now. It'd be nice if it was usable space, but for now, it's just a catch-all for all the stuff nobody has the heart to throw away. So that's the setup. I've got this old house, the responsibility of 3 siblings, and a barn that's pretty much useless at this point. But this place means something to all of us, and I'm doing everything I can to keep it together. It's not perfect, but it's home, and I'm doing my best to make sure it stays that way. Grandma left me this place because she believed I'd do right by my siblings, and I'm determined to make sure I don't let her down. So everything was mostly under control, or as much as it could be with 3 siblings in a creaky old house. But then, after I shared the news that I'm pregnant, things took a weird turn with my sister. She's 20, a college student, and I'd always thought she'd be at least a bit excited or supportive. Instead, she looked at me like I just told her we were all moving to Mars. The next day, she sat me down like she was about to give me a serious talk. She says, "I just want you to know I don't think I can live in this house with a baby." Right off the bat, I'm kind of thrown because it's not like I was asking her to be the baby's third parent or anything. But I try to stay calm and hear her out, thinking maybe she's just stressed with school and all. I asked her what exactly she means, and she basically tells me she's not down to live with a newborn. She says it'll be too noisy and that the baby will mess up her routine. Now, mind you, this is the same sister who blasts music at midnight and has friends over for loud study sessions, so it's not like she's some noise-sensitive person. I figure it's just her being dramatic, but I try to be understanding. I tell her we'll make it work, maybe come up with some boundaries or even work out a schedule so she can have her quiet time. But then she drops this gem. Why don't you move into the barn? At first, I laughed because I honestly thought she was joking, like me moving into a dusty, spider-infested barn while pregnant and with a newborn. But she's dead serious. She starts going on about how practical it would be since she and the younger ones need their sleep, and it'd just be easier for everyone if I took my little bundle of noise to the barn. I stare at her, trying to process what I'm hearing, and I'm thinking, is she really suggesting that I move out of the main house, my own house, and live in a freaking barn? I tell her straight up, look, the barn hasn't been touched in years. It's a junk room with a bed buried under a bunch of random stuff. I don't even know if the plumbing works back there. But she just shrugs, like I'm being difficult. She says I'm overreacting and that it wouldn't take much to make it livable again. According to her, I just need to clear out the junk, maybe throw in a few cozy touches, and voila, perfect little barn apartment. She even says she's willing to help me move, as if she's doing me some kind of favor. Now, I can't tell if she actually believes this, or if she's just grasping at straws to avoid dealing with the reality of a baby in the house. Either way, I'm not having it. I tell her no way am I moving into the barn. This house was left to me, and I intend to stay here, especially since I'm the one responsible for everyone, including her. But she doubles down, saying I'm being selfish and that if I cared about the family, I'd be willing to make this small sacrifice. Small sacrifice? Moving out of my own room into a glorified storage shed, so she doesn't have to hear a baby cry? I asked her why she doesn't move into the barn if she's so attached to the idea. That's when she pulls the classic line. This is my home too. I have every right to be here. Now, I'll admit she's got a point. I want my siblings to feel at home here, but this is just nuts. I mean, why am I being made to feel like I'm imposing on her? I keep explaining that I'm staying in the house, that I need to be under the same roof as our two younger siblings to look after them. But she's acting like this baby is some kind of huge inconvenience she shouldn't have to deal with, even if it means asking me to literally move out of the house. She doesn't let it go. Every other conversation turns back to the barn idea. She starts making little comments like, well, it wouldn't hurt to at least look at the barn, or if you cleared out the junk, it could be nice. It's like she's trying to wear me down, like if she just brings it up enough times, I'll magically agree. But here's the thing. The barn is not livable. It's barely usable for storage, let alone as a living space. I tell her that the bathroom's probably not working, the door doesn't even have a lock, and there's dust, and who knows what else everywhere. And that's without even mentioning the spiders, which are probably the real tenants at this point. It's not just uncomfortable, it's practically a health hazard. She just waves it off like I'm being dramatic, says it won't take long to fix up, that I could hire someone to clear it out, or that she could help if I really need it. I try to stay calm, but every time she brings it up, I feel my patience slipping. It's my house, and she's treating me like a guest just because I'm having a baby. I keep telling her, if it bothers her that much, she's welcome to find somewhere else to stay. I even offered to help her look for an affordable place. But that's a whole other issue, because apparently, she can't move out on her student budget without like 5 roommates. So she's back to square one, looking at me like I'm the one creating the problem, not her unreasonable demand. At this point, it's like talking to a wall. She's set on this idea that I should move into the barn, and I'm not budging. Every time I tell her no, she just goes quiet, then later circles back around to it with a new reason why it would work out great. Meanwhile, I'm just over here thinking about how my grandma must be rolling in her grave hearing this nonsense. Honestly, I'm at a loss. I don't want to make her feel unwelcome, but I also can't believe she's being this stubborn about not wanting a baby around. It's not like I can make the baby magically silent, and it's not like I'm going anywhere. I want to keep this house together for all of us, but if this is how things are going to go, it's going to be a long few months. She's giving me the cold shoulder now, barely even talking unless she absolutely has to. And when she does, it's all passive-aggressive comments about her space and her rights. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to hold my ground without blowing up at her. I don't know how else to make it clear. I'm not moving to the barn. It's that simple. She can sulk all she wants, but I'm not about to start my life as a parent out in some dusty storage room just to keep her happy. And that's where we're at. After I put my foot down about not moving to the barn, things got tense. My sister's been in full silent treatment mode, like I just ruined her entire life by saying no. She barely looks at me when she walks through the room, and every time I try to start a conversation, she'll either give me one-word answers or just act like she's got something more important to do. At first, I tried to ignore it. I figured she'd get over it once she saw I wasn't going to change my mind. But nope. Instead, she started doing little things around the house that just scream passive-aggressive. Like, she leaves her stuff all over the living room. Her textbooks, bags, random clothes just to take up space. She knows I like to keep the place clean, but I swear it's like she's marking her territory or something. Every time I pick up her stuff to put it away, it feels like she's watching me out of the corner of her eye, waiting to see if I'll say anything. And it's not just her stuff lying around. She started leaving dishes in the sink too, which is super unlike her. Usually, she's the one nagging everyone else about cleaning up after themselves. Now it's like she's doing it on purpose. I'll come into the kitchen, and there'll be a whole stack of plates and cups like she just can't be bothered. I get that she's mad, but seriously? Leaving messes for me to clean up? Real mature. I try to talk to her about it just to see if we could clear the air a bit. I sat her down and said, "Look, I know you're not happy with the situation, but we got to find a way to get along here." She just shrugged and said, "I'm not the one making it a problem." Which, let me tell you, took everything in me not to roll my eyes. But that's not even the worst part. The real kicker is how she's been with the younger kids. She knows they pick up on everything, and lately she's been making these snide comments around them, stuff like, "Well, I guess some people get to decide everything now," or "It must be nice to just call all the shots." She doesn't say it to my face, of course, but it's loud enough that I can hear it. And the younger ones, especially the 13-year-old, are starting to get uncomfortable. My brother even came up to me the other night and asked, "Why is she so mad at you?" How do I even begin to explain that? I just told him we're having a disagreement, and that it's nothing he needs to worry about. But I can tell it's bothering him. He's been quieter than usual, and he avoids being in the same room as both of us at the same time. I hate that this is affecting him too. I never wanted any of them to feel stuck in the middle of a feud. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to keep things running smoothly around here. But she's making it nearly impossible. Like the other day, I asked her if she could watch the younger ones for a couple of hours while I ran some errands. She straight up refused, said she had too much homework, which I know for a fact wasn't true since she was literally just watching TV when I asked. So I had to scramble to figure it out myself, which fine I can deal with, but it was just another reminder that she's trying to make things harder than they need to be. But the tension doesn't stop there. Every now and then, she makes these not-so-subtle digs about freeloaders or how some people don't contribute as much as others. I know she's trying to get under my skin, implying that I'm taking advantage of the house or something, which is funny, considering she's living here rent-free herself and doesn't exactly pay for much aside from the occasional grocery run. I don't say anything back because I'm not trying to make things worse, but it's getting harder to hold my tongue. Then there was last night. She came into the kitchen while I was making dinner and started sighing dramatically every few seconds. I ignored it at first, but then she drops. I was actually planning on studying tonight, but I guess I'll just have to deal with all the noise. I had to laugh at that one because, 1, the house was dead quiet aside from the cooking, and 2, the baby isn't even here yet. She's already acting like it's the end of the world before there's even a single baby cry. So I finally turned to her and said, "Look, I get that you're frustrated, but can we just try to coexist without the attitude?" She didn't even respond. She just rolled her eyes and walked out of the kitchen. I swear, sometimes it feels like I'm dealing with a teenager instead of a 20-year-old adult. Now it's to the point where I dread coming home some days. I walk in the door, and it's like walking into a minefield. I never know what new little message she's left for me, whether it's dirty dishes, her stuff scattered everywhere, or some offhand comment about noise or space. I keep telling myself that maybe she just needs time to come around, but honestly, I don't know how much more of this I can take without snapping. And it's not like I can talk to anyone about it either. If I try to bring it up with friends or even some family, they just give me the whole, "Oh, she'll get over it," line like it's no big deal. But they're not the ones living in this house, dealing with the tension every single day. I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, constantly trying to keep the peace. And meanwhile, she's doing everything she can to push my buttons. I'm not sure what her endgame is here. Maybe she thinks if she makes things miserable enough, I'll eventually give in and move to the barn just to keep the peace. But that's not happening. I'm not going to let her control the situation like that, especially not when I have every right to stay in this house. I just wish she'd see reason and accept that things are going to change, whether she likes it or not. But right now, she's stubborn as a mule, and I'm stuck trying to navigate this mess without losing my sanity. I've got enough on my plate with getting ready for the baby and handling the day-to-day stuff for the younger kids. The last thing I need is a constant passive-aggressive roommate who's supposed to be my sister. I don't know where we go from here. I keep hoping she'll just let it go, but every day it's something new, a mess here, a sigh there, another snide comment when I'm within earshot. I'm doing my best to keep it together, but I can feel the tension building, and I'm not sure how much longer I can keep pretending it doesn't bother me. All I know is I'm not going anywhere. This is my house, and I'm not moving into a barn to please anyone, not even family. If things were tense before, now they're straight up icy. My sister's gone from just being passive-aggressive to full-on ignoring me. It's like I don't exist. I come into a room, and she leaves. I say something, and she doesn't even look up. If I ask a direct question, I might get a grunt or maybe a yell or no, but that's about it. It's like living with a ghost that's mad at you. At first, I thought it might blow over. Maybe she just needed a few days to cool off, and we'd be able to talk things through. But nope. She stuck to her silent treatment plan like it's her new life mission. And it's not just me she's giving the cold shoulder to. She's even keeping her distance from the younger kids. They're starting to notice, especially the 13-year-old, who's always been closer to her. Now she won't even sit in the same room with him if I'm around. What's wild is how she's perfected this art of ignoring me while still making it clear she's annoyed. She'll slam doors, stomp around the house, and basically make her presence known without ever actually engaging. It's like she's trying to remind me constantly that she's there, but unhappy, without having to say a single word. If I didn't know better, I'd say she was trying to make me feel guilty for not going along with her ridiculous barn idea. One night, I was making dinner, and she came into the kitchen. I figured, okay, maybe she's ready to talk, so I tried to break the ice with something simple like, "Hey, do you want pasta or rice tonight?" She looked at me like I just asked her to solve a math problem and walked right back out of the room without a word. It's like she's making it her personal mission to show me that she's above having any normal human interaction with me. The weirdest part is how the younger kids are reacting. They're picking up on the tension, and it's starting to affect them. My 16-year-old brother is just kind of keeping his head down, staying out of the way. But my youngest sibling, the 13-year-old, keeps asking me why his sister's so upset. I don't want to get into the details with him, so I just say, it's a grown-up disagreement. But he doesn't buy it. He's starting to worry that he did something wrong, which just breaks my heart. I can see it's bothering him, but she doesn't seem to care. One evening, after a particularly icy day, I decided to sit down with my 13-year-old and just reassure him. I told him that everything was fine and that it had nothing to do with him. He just looked at me and said, I don't like it when she's mad. I didn't know what to say to that. He's a kid and he shouldn't have to deal with this kind of stress just because his sister and I can't see eye to eye. Meanwhile, my sister's keeping up her performance, ignoring anything I say and keeping to herself as much as possible. She's either locked in her room or out of the house entirely. I don't know where she goes, but she'll disappear for hours, only to come back late and go straight to her room. She's acting like a guest in her own house, and it's making everything so awkward. I mean, it's her home too, but it doesn't feel like it lately. Things hit a new low when I tried to do a family movie night, something we used to do all the time. I picked out a movie everyone liked, got some snacks together, and invited them all to join. My younger siblings were all in, and I figured maybe this would be the thing to get my sister to lighten up a bit. But she didn't even respond to the invitation. She just stayed in her room with her door shut, pretending like she didn't hear a thing. It was like she was making a point to exclude herself, and it sucked because the younger kids kept looking over, wondering if she was going to join us. Afterward, my 16-year-old actually asked me, did she say anything about why she didn't come out? I shook my head and tried to play it off like it was no big deal. But inside, I was fuming. I mean, I get that she's mad, but ignoring me is one thing. Ignoring the rest of the family just feels petty. It's like she's willing to make everyone else uncomfortable just to keep her grudge alive. The next day, she pulled another silent treatment stunt that pushed me close to my breaking point. I was making breakfast for everyone, and as usual, I asked her if she wanted any. She ignored me, as expected, so I just went about my business. But then she came into the kitchen, made herself something to eat right next to me, and then walked back out without a single word. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. It was honestly like living with a stranger. I tried one last time to address it, thinking maybe I could break through her wall of silence. I said, hey, I know we're not on the best terms right now, but this is getting ridiculous. We're still family, and the way you're acting is affecting everyone else too. She just stared at me for a second, like she was considering saying something. But then she just shrugged and walked off. That was it. Not a word. Nothing. I don't know what more I can do. She's made it clear she doesn't want to talk, doesn't want to compromise, and definitely doesn't want to live with a baby. But the thing is, I'm not going anywhere. And neither is this baby. This silent treatment has stretched on for way too long, and now I'm starting to wonder if this is just how things are going to be from now on. It's exhausting, and honestly, it's starting to make me resent her. I never wanted it to come to this, but she's left me no choice. And as if that wasn't enough, I can see the toll it's taking on everyone else. My brother barely talks to her now, and the youngest is more withdrawn, spending more time alone in his room. It's like she's created this invisible wall around herself, and we're all just supposed to tiptoe around it. I hate it. This house was supposed to be a place where we could all be a family, where we could feel safe and comfortable. But now it feels like a battleground. I've tried to be patient. I've tried to give her space, let her come around in her own time. But there's only so much silence a person can take. I'm at a point where I'm seriously considering just laying down some ground rules. Either we find a way to get along, or she can find another arrangement. Because this is no way to live. Not for me, not for her, and definitely not for the younger kids who are caught in the middle of all this. But for now, I'm just taking it day by day, hoping that something will shift. Maybe she'll get tired of the silent treatment. Maybe she'll realize this whole thing is pointless. I don't know. All I know is I'm tired of walking around my own house feeling like an outsider because of her stubbornness. And if she thinks she can wait me out, she's in for a surprise because I'm not backing down. Not now. Not ever. At this point, I'm done bending over backward to try to make peace. My sister's dead set on this silent treatment and playing the victim over a baby that isn't even here yet. So I've decided, no more bending, no more letting her control the mood of this whole house. I've got my hands full as it is with prepping for the baby and looking after the younger kids. I don't need the added stress of walking on eggshells around her every day. I started focusing on keeping the house running smoothly for everyone else. If she wants to sulk in her room or act like a guest in her own home, that's on her. But I'm not about to let her disrupt the whole vibe of the house. I told the younger kids to go on as usual, that we don't have to tiptoe just because she's upset. They seemed relieved to hear that, especially my youngest, who's been anxious and trying to avoid any drama. It's like giving them permission to just be kids again. One day, I was in the kitchen making dinner, and she came in, did her usual routine of ignoring me, grabbed a snack, and left without a word. This time, instead of letting it get to me, I decided to keep the conversation rolling with the younger ones. I talked about random stuff, asked about their day, and just kept the energy upbeat. The kids were laughing, and for a moment, it felt like old times, like we were all just hanging out. Of course, she noticed. I could see her glance back as she walked out, and I swear there was a flash of surprise. I think she's used to having this control over everyone's mood, like her silence has the power to put us all on edge. But the more I ignored her little attempts to drag us down, the less power her attitude seemed to have. A few days later, she came downstairs right as I was putting on a movie for a family night. Usually, she would have just ignored it and gone back to her room, but I think she was thrown off seeing us all together, laughing and enjoying ourselves. The kids had popcorn, the lights were dimmed, and we were just getting into the opening scene when she walked in. She paused in the doorway, like she was debating whether to join or keep up her silent protest. Now, Olmi would have maybe asked if she wanted to join, extended an olive branch. But this time, I just went on with the movie. I didn't say anything, didn't even look her way. After a few seconds, she finally shuffled in and sat on the far end of the couch. She didn't say a word, but hey, at least she was there. I figured that was progress, in its own strange way. But of course, she didn't make it easy. The next morning, she was back to her regular routine of pretending I don't exist, stomping around, and making her presence known without actually engaging. It was almost funny at this point. Like, how much energy does she think I have to care about this stuff? I've got bigger things on my plate than keeping track of every sigh and eye roll she throws my way. And then came the breaking point. I was in the middle of setting up a small nursery area in my room, moving some things around to make space, and she walked by, looking over the baby stuff with that annoyed expression. She didn't say anything, just watched me struggle with moving some boxes, like she was daring me to ask for help. But I didn't. I didn't ask her for anything. I finished setting things up on my own, didn't even acknowledge her standing there. After that, she finally cracked. She stormed into my room and actually started talking. She told me that this whole thing was selfish, that I was disrupting the house, making everything about me and the baby, and that I wasn't respecting her boundaries. It was like she had this whole list of grievances ready to go, and she wasn't holding back. But you know what? I'd had enough too. I told her, calmly but firmly, that this was my house and that I'm done feeling guilty for simply living in it. I explained again that I'm trying to do what's best for the family, for everyone here, and that includes making space for my child. I reminded her that Grandma left me this place with a purpose, and I wasn't going to ignore that just to keep the peace. She didn't take it well, of course. She accused me of trying to kick her out, said I was being unreasonable and selfish. But this time, instead of trying to defend myself or explain further, I just told her the truth. If she couldn't handle the changes, she was free to leave. I offered to help her find a place, maybe even chip in a bit for the first month's rent if she needed it, but I made it clear that I wasn't going to keep fighting over this. She was either in or she was out. For the first time, she actually went quiet, like really quiet. I could tell my words had hit a nerve. She stood there for a moment, probably processing what I said, and then, without another word, she walked out of the room. And I'll admit, I felt a little bad. I don't want her to feel unwelcome. But at the same time, I can't keep sacrificing my own peace of mind and my kid's future just to keep her from throwing a tantrum. After that, things settled down a bit. She still isn't warm and fuzzy with me, and I don't expect her to be anytime soon. But she stopped with the constant passive-aggressive moves. I think she's finally starting to understand that I'm not going to cave to her demands. She's backed off, and we're kind of just existing in the same space without too much drama. The younger kids seem more relaxed too. They're not tiptoeing around or constantly watching out for signs of another blow-up. I think they're just relieved that things are somewhat normal again. Even if my sister's still distant, they know I'm here for them, and they're adjusting to the idea of a new addition to the family. As for my sister, well, maybe time will help her come around. Maybe she'll realize that this house is big enough for all of us, baby included, and that I'm not the enemy here. Or maybe she'll stick to her silent treatment and keep her distance. Who knows? But I'm done stressing about it. I'm standing my ground. This is my home, and I'm here to stay with my kid and my siblings, whether she likes it or not. It's not the perfect outcome I'd hoped for, but it's better than constantly bending just to keep her happy. And maybe, just maybe, we'll all find a way to live under this roof peacefully, even if it's not exactly how any of us pictured it. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Should I give up? Update. The silent treatment and passive-aggressive standoffs had worn everyone down, especially the younger kids, who were picking up on every little moment of tension. Honestly, I think it was starting to get to my sister too. She'd barely been home lately, spending more time at her friend's place or anywhere that wasn't here. Then, out of nowhere, she announced she was thinking about moving out. She brought it up one night over dinner, looking everywhere, but at me. I don't think this arrangement is working out for me, she said, crossing her arms. Maybe it's time I find my own place. My first reaction was relief. Maybe this would give us both some breathing room and finally end the constant friction. But I knew it wouldn't be easy for her. She's a college student on a tight budget, and finding affordable housing around here is a tall order. Still, I kept my mouth shut, not wanting to discourage her. If she thought this was what she needed, then I wanted to be supportive. Over the next week, I saw her scrolling through rental listings and reaching out to people online about shared housing. She'd call up friends, asking if they knew of anyone looking for a roommate. But it didn't take long for reality to hit. Rent prices were sky high, and the places within her budget were either way out of town or sketchy at best. She started coming home, looking more frustrated with each passing day. One night, she plopped down at the kitchen table with a sigh, clearly fed up. Do you know how hard it is to find a decent place around here? She grumbled, more to herself than to me. Everyone wants an arm and a leg for a place that isn't even half this size. It was the first time she'd seemed remotely vulnerable since this whole argument started. I didn't say much, just nodded and listened, letting her vent. I think she was finally realizing that living on her own wouldn't be as simple as she thought. Eventually, she admitted it. Maybe I was a little rash, she said, barely audible, eyes fixed on the table. I thought getting away would fix everything, but it's not as easy as I thought. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. Look, no one's pushing you out. I know things have been rough, but we don't have to keep making it this hard on each other. This is home for all of us, and we can make it work. But it's got to be a team effort. She was quiet for a long moment before nodding. Yeah, maybe I've been making things harder than they need to be, she admitted, sounding more like herself than she had in weeks. It's probably better if I just stay. And with that, the tension seemed to ease a bit. We didn't come to a complete resolution that night, but something shifted. Maybe she realized the grass wasn't always greener on the other side. And maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to share this space without tearing each other apart.